Very good to see you again. Right, big discussion now. 4 years ago, we started a campaign on this very programme. This is because of the scandalous situation where several fires were caused or seemingly caused by faulty tumble dryers.
Yeah, thousands of Hotpoint branded machines manufactured by parent company Whirlpool were recalled or repaired. But the question is, did the company do enough? We've got Jemma Spurr with us today, and she claims that her repaired Hotpoint tumble dryer recently caught fire, almost destroyed her home. She's alongside Alice Beer, who obviously has been a huge part of starting this campaign and keeping across this.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure when we would come back and talk about it, Alice.
So we're going to talk about it today, and here is a reminder of that mission from Alice and this programme to force Whirlpool to do something about this.
Well, the alert put out by Indesit follows a series of household blazes and could affect millions of families. Well, it appears the situation is becoming increasingly dangerous, with one family losing their home in a fire believed to have been caused by their tumble dryer.
Well, Whirlpool, who own the Hotpoint brand, turned us down 3 times when we asked them to come on the show to talk about the fire hazard posed by these machines. So we sent Alice Beer to them in Michigan.
What if it is too late and there is a death? I don't want to be sitting here doing this interview, and you certainly don't.
I believe the products are safe.
We're calling this our wall of shame. These are emails that were sent to us from you during yesterday's show.
Well, Alice Beer now reports on the latest controversial fire which ripped through a tower block in London last month and where residents are still homeless.
I feel that the manufacturers and the government are deliberately downplaying what's happening here.
Where are we a year on?
Well, I really hoped we wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. There's still some 3 million machines out there in people's homes that pose a serious threat of fire to them and their families.
How will you feel if a family, one of those sets of loyal customers, die because their house burns down on your watch?
Well, Jemma, and that nearly did happen in your particular case. So your dryer is out in your garage, right? Then when did you notice something was wrong? And just give people just an idea of how scary this is if it was to happen to them.
Well, it was just a normal day, really. I got up to the school run, took the kids to school. I got my eldest son off school because he was sick. And when I got back home, I just started to the housework, put the tumble dryer on, just carried on, you know, my daily business. And I started to smell like a slight burning smell, which just brushed it off. I were hoovering at the time with like a handheld upright Dyson. I smelt the back of it, but it was just like a chemical, not a chemical smell, like electrical smell.
Yeah,
so I know it weren't that. And I put it back, I went into the living room, carried on doing my housework, and it were about another 5-10 minutes later, and I came back into the kitchen, and it were really strong, that I knew that it were close by, and my toddler had followed me into the kitchen behind me, and I just looked over my shoulder, realised the smell were coming from the side of me, and I opened the door, and...
This is the door into your garage?
Yeah, the kitchen door led into the garage, and it was just flames billowing out the tumble dryer. And the sound that I can't get out of my head, it was like really eerie, and just thick black smoke everywhere. And my natural instinct was just shut the door and get out.
Well, here's the thing. It's just awful that we're sitting, Alice, talking to Jemma about this and how scary and how frightening and the whole aftermath of all of this is. I thought this was all supposed to be fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there are 2 concerning things. One is that Jemma had a machine that was modified. She contacted Whirlpool when she saw our programme, and she had her machine modified. So she thought she was safe. She had a fire after her machine was modified. Then what happened was she was asked to sign a gagging order. She was asked not to speak to anybody about what had happened in her case.
This was to make sure you were paid your compensation to cover the damage.
To get her compensation,
yeah.
Exactly. Now, 2 concerning things. Why are modified machines catching fire? Is there a problem with them? And secondly, nobody should ever, if there is an issue with public safety, nobody should ever be signing a gagging order. The whole point is to get the information out there. Now, we've just had a review by the Office of Product Safety and Standards. It's newly formed to protect consumers like Jemma, and they have said that this is a low risk. The modified machine is a low risk. Now, Consumer groups like which have said that that review was fundamentally flawed. Of course, they're concerned about gagging orders, whether they're issued, in this case, by the loss assessor or by the company, whoever they're issued by. There should never be a gagging order. And this review is fundamentally flawed. We should be protecting consumers.
But also, if there's gagging orders, we don't know what the real numbers are,
Yeah.
how many of these repairs are actually working.
Exactly. So we want to know how many modified machines are out there that are causing problems or have caused problems and people have been gagged. We know there were 5 million faulty machines in the UK alone.
Yeah.
We know as of this morning, 1.7 million have been modified. So there's still millions of unmodified machines.
But let me get this straight. Whirlpool is what? Is it a system that they make for and they sell on to Hotpoint, Indesit and Creda? Is that what it is? They come up with a system or a way to do this, which is called Whirlpool, and then they send it out to these different...
No, there's a parent company that owns all these brands. In fact, Whirlpool actually bought these brands quite late in the day. There was already a problem. These machines had already been made, but when Whirlpool bought, as a parent company, bought these other brands. So the problem was across many brands and many, many models. So there is a fundamental problem. It still continues to be a problem. We have constantly from day one said that a whole system was of recalling and modifying these machines was not transparent enough.
Well, look, we've got to hear what they say. What do they say about all
Well,
of
Whirlpool have said that Whirlpool has never used legal or other enforcement mechanisms to prevent public discussions of alleged incidences. In this instance, the settlement was negotiated by loss adjusters. It was a standardised documentation. And they claim that UK product safety regulators have repeatedly concluded the modification is the most effective way of resolving the issue. They still claim there have been no reported incidents where the modification has proven to be ineffective. Consumer Group Which say this is absolutely wrong.
What did the fire brigade say when they came to put out this fire?
He said it was one of the worst fires that he'd ever seen. But when the guy came out to originally do the modifications on the machine, he were actually really shocked on what a well-maintained machine it were. Now, I used to clean the filters out regularly. I used to hoover it out once a week. It shouldn't have ever happened.
And they also said because your boiler was in the garage.
Yeah. The fire took place right under the boiler, and the fireman said if that fire had been going on 5 minutes longer, that would have been a different story.
So it could have blown up your house,
The house
and possibly next door.
Well, next door as well. She were a childminder, and she works from the room at the side of my house, and there were children in there. You know, so it's not even worth.
And very
thinking
frightening
about.
for you and your children having to get out of the house so quickly. And have you still got a tumble dryer? You've got a new one now.
No. I won't ever have a tumble dryer again, and I won't even buy another Hotpoint product.
Alice, what should people do if they have got a machine and they haven't even checked it yet?
Right, number one, check whether your machine needs modifying. Go on the Whirlpool website, contact us, just Google it and you will find out an effective way to check your machine to see if it needs the modification. Number two, have you had your machine modified? Have you got a problem with it? Have you smelt fire or seen smoke, or is it overheating? Contact us. Already this morning we've had people on our social media telling us they've had a problem with their modified machine. We're going to pass that information on to Consumer Group Which and to Whirlpool and get this sorted. And number three, if you have a tumble dryer, any make whatsoever, you have to clean out your filter.
Regularly.
You have to get the lint every single time you put on a load to dry.
But
you
Jemma
have
did
to
that.
clean out this lint, which Jemma did. But the problem is, historically, that the lint is falling onto the heating element. But I do not have confidence in these machines, and we want to get to the bottom of this once and for all.
Just finally, Jemma, for you and your young children and, living in the house, the fear of God must be in you all the time. You must be very nervous now, leaving any appliance on, a toaster, an oven, a microwave, whatever.
The only thing I can obviously leave on is the fridge freezer, but it still affected me mentally. If I smell any burning smell, don't matter what I'm doing. Last week I was laughing and joking with my friend. I smelt smoke. My face just dropped. And she's like, go on, do your routine. And she knew that I had to go in every single room to make sure that there were nothing had been left on, there were nothing on fire. It's made me really paranoid.
Of course,
Wow,
of course.
awful.
Well, thank you for highlighting it
That's
for
all
us.
right.
Thanks for ignoring your gagging order. Thank you, appreciate it. Alice, thank you very much indeed.